All right, so I'm going to give a quick feature overview of just some of the stuff we've been doing over the last 6 months. For those who don't know me, I've been shouted out too many times in this conference already. Um, so I'm Andres. I live in Byron Bay, which is a little town in Australia that looks like this. But I only introduce that because I want to talk to you about Itai, who's our chief architect and really owns the mainnet deployment. And he lives in a place called Netanya in Israel, which looks like this. And his life needs to be made a lot easier. Because mine's already, I live in Byron, I'm good. So, and to make his life easier, he's having to manage mainnet, which has had, as we've heard, 300,000 individuals get a credential, over 400,000 credentials issued. We've had a single day with 60,000 credentials being issued. So this is a real test of what we've built to date. And we did it, and he did it, and the whole team did it, who are based in Israel and Europe primarily. Barely breaking a sweat. And next year, we're going to try and go for 100 times that number. Provably with our load testing and so on. We're continuing to develop new improvements, both in monitoring, in the stability and performance of the platform on a monthly basis. And it's really, a core focus of his life, so he can just have good night's sleeps and maybe move to somewhere nicer. Some of the other things we've made easier are actually for our users of the product, not just our developers and operations staff. So the first thing I'd like to introduce to you is that claiming a person's credential, a verifiable career credential on the network, is even easier than it's ever been before. With some of the latest things that we're releasing at this very moment, next week as well, there'll be some further improvements to this. But this experience that you'll have for claiming your employment credentials or badges you've received or your assessments can be made as simple as what I'm going to show you here. So here we have an email that you've received with an offer for an employment credential from your employer. You can click on the big red button and it takes you to a landing page where it has that smart link to open your career wallet or install it directly from the App Store. Once installed, you open it, of course, and the offer can be presented to you immediately nowadays. There's no need anymore, if you use certain flows, to get you to identify yourself, because that's used a smart link in that email. The same way that Slack, when you get your invites to Slack, you can log straight in. So that capability is being put into the agents that all of you can deploy and make available to your clients and their employers and employees and students. So the offer's there. It's just a matter of accepting the terms and conditions, and you get your credential in employment history. And there it is. So that, for those that have seen the current process, which we'll do tomorrow if you haven't, when you're claiming your conference credential, it's a bit more laborious. So you'll be able to contrast that experience to what you're going to have to do tomorrow if you haven't done it today. So that's our pre-authorization flow. It's amazing, and I think, in the coming months, people will switch to doing this rather than having to claim any other credentials initially. And of course, it's all authorized and secure. Next, and this was touched upon in Draw's presentation, we want to make it easier for the credentials, for you to share your verifiable career credentials to the shop window. And currently the shop window tends to be LinkedIn. So what's that experience like? It is a few more clicks than claiming your first credential, unfortunately. But let's say we have Vanessa. This is her credentials. She has an education credential that she'd like to post onto LinkedIn. Can I say, by the way, that this is, all these features that we've talked about have come from membership initially. And I want to thank in particular, Alex from SAP, if he's around, for really pushing us to do this one. She's got her Texas Women's University credential. She clicks on the 3 dots at the top there and can share to LinkedIn. That then pops up a authorize yourself with LinkedIn pop-up, which you're probably familiar with. She enters her email and password, signs in, and then the apps are connected. The next step is then to decide whether to share it on your profile or feed. Depends on the credential, which of these actions you can do. So certain credentials are not possible to be shared on your profile directly yet on LinkedIn. So it will only go onto your feed. However, in this case, it can be added to either, of course, accepting the T's and C's, and it's done. So she can go off into her LinkedIn account, load it up, and now it's on her profile for people to love and like and so on. For those who've had a credential issued to them and done this process, it's quite fun to see everyone thumbs upping your credentials, and you'll get to do it tomorrow. So I highly recommend you go about doing that. And of course, each of those credentials that are on LinkedIn are actually verifiable on that prove.bio site that we saw earlier, that Justin demoed earlier. So it's all able to be verified by anyone who's interested in looking at that credential. Okay, the last feature from the last few months that I want to walk through is a slightly larger feature. It's for you guys in general who have many clients and want to make that experience a lot easier. This has come again from our membership, primarily, for example, Manoj from Greenlight has pointed this out, but also the certifier guys were like, we need something like that. And what this is about having you as an organization being able to invite all your clients to the system and minimizing the friction that they have to go through to get onboarded. So it's about creating an invitation for that organization that you want to get on board. For example, a college that you want to issue on host on your credential agent. You can add their organization name. You can even specify descriptions, website URLs, all the information that's required for their profile on the Velocity network. In particular, really important is, of course, a business contact email and technical contact email. Now, any of those organizations that are looking to get on board probably will have supplied you some of that information, if not all of it. You can pre-fill in everything you've got on their behalf, but you don't need anything else other than their name if that's all you've got. But ideally, you have more. Next, you're going to configure the service that they want to use. Now, those of you who've done this before are aware that there's different services on the network. Issuers, notary issuers, relying parties. Each service needs to be set up individually. So again, you as a credential agent operators can select the service that you're going to run on their behalf. Make sure the URL or the service endpoint is correct on their behalf so that they don't need to do any of this. And then you're sending that invite, of course, to their email address, whoever that contact is you have from the college. You invite the client, and it appears on your dashboard, your invitations dashboard, where you can manage, you can resend them, you can withdraw them, and you can see who's accepted as well. Okay, so from the other side, what's their experience? That college will receive an email from the Velocity Network Foundation's registration site with the accept invitation button on there. They tap that and you can see it's all pre-filled in with everything you've filled in for them. Now they can edit that, right, in case there's something wrong. You didn't get it quite right, but they don't have, they see stuff they recognize, right? They can adjust anything they want. And then lastly, and most importantly, that really technical information that we were having them fill in themselves and that was causing a lot of friction in the process is filled in for them. They can see that information in case they're interested, but it's probably in the end just gobbledygook for them. They save the information, and that's it. They're on board the network. Now, further to this, another feature is that is not much to demonstrate when you're going through slides is the keys, which are critical for establishing authenticity of the credentials that are being issued and authenticating the issuers themselves, who their identity is, and if they're trusted to do what they're doing. Are they okay to be a notary? Are they okay to be an issuer? Have they been accredited by the foundation or not? So those keys are really important information. They're private information. Nowadays, instead of them having to download them, as you can kind of see in these screens, or will be shown in these screens, they will be automatically sent across via a secure webhook, fully encrypted, to your credential agent, and will be saved there, encrypted as well. So it's encrypted in transport, encrypted in storage, and they don't have to do anything, and you don't have to do anything other than implement this webhook. So it makes it a lot easier to use this network. They don't have to deal with keys anymore. Yes, they will be presented this information. They should download it for their own safekeeping, but they won't need to figure out how to communicate these things securely to you because you'll have done the hard work for them. So that's a download process, and we make sure they download them. Okay, so that's what I have to share with you today. We have a lot more stuff coming and throughout the next year, and I'll be really looking forward to sharing that with you. But you guys can influence what we're working on as well, right? A lot of these things have come from our membership saying this is too hard. We can't get our clients to do this. And so that feedback we really value. You can speak with Eitan. You can join us in product committee run by Satish, who, we have a meeting about once a month where we go through the current roadmap every month. What's it looking like? You can vote on issues that are important to you to influence what we are working on. You can join standards committee with Rick as well, who's working on standards-related elements of the product, such as what credential types we have, what are the fields within them, and so on. Make sure that we've got the fields that you guys need when you're receiving credentials, as relying parties in particular. And lastly, you can join us doing software development. The certifier team have joined us in producing the first community-driven software piece, which is our Node.js Web Wallet SDK. And so, that's great, and I really want to thank those guys. But it doesn't need to be just them. It can be all of you. Please join us. We're really happy to take contributions, particularly on the SDK front. If you're interested in wallets, Java, .NET, whatever, I'm sure we can find something for you guys to work on. We can help you out. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Before I transfer it to Eitan, this whole thing, as I said, of abstracting complexity from users of blockchain networks, that's the holy grail of the Web3 industry as a whole. Not many have been able to do that. There's always the issue of the keys And how do you save the keys? And how do you identify the user? And how do you get the user to be able to use it easily, and so on and so forth? What you've seen here on screen, this is magic, right? So, I mean, you have to understand how, how thoughtfully this community is thinking about their constituents, the individuals, the recruiter, the HR folks, the background screeners, the compliance folks. It's all should be abstracted from them. And the vendors are the one that take this and abstract everything from the end user, be it an organization or the individual. So really great work. Really, I'm amazed. Eitan, sorry.